How do the Mavericks find a way to get this ugly start turned around to get things moving in the right direction? We'll have that conversation right now with our All City teammate, of course, co-host of the All NBA podcast with his guy Adam Mares, and of course, ESPN game and in-studio analyst and former Dallas Maverick legend. He is, of course, Tim Legler. Tim, what's going on?
What's happening, man? Look, if you're asking me to solve that riddle, I don't know if we got time for that today, man. All right, because I don't know that I have the easy solution that I'm sure Mavericks fans are looking for right now.
Well, we'll try to find some because there's a lot of problems that this team is dealing with. A team, Tim, that's second to last in offensive rating so far this year, dead last in scoring per game as a team. They are fourth in defensive rating, but let's just start with a 30,000-foot view. From what you have seen through the first couple of weeks of this season for this team, what is your overall assessment and what's gone wrong for this team, particularly offensively?
Well, I mean, it comes down to this. In this league, offensively, you need at least one, if not two, focal points offensively, right? Guys that can manipulate defenses, that can create situations where you have to communicate defensively, run extra traffic at guys. It creates all of the flow offensively in this league. If you don't have that, then you better be able to turn teams over constantly and play in the open floor all night long. If you're not going to have a focal point in the half court, they don't have a focal point in the half court, and they're a good defensive team, and eventually they could be, I think, one of the top defensive teams in the league if they get all their pieces. This is different. They're an anemic three-point shooting team. And one of the reasons is because you don't have a focal point offensively and a guy that can manipulate multiple defenders. The three-point shots you get are not going to be the quality of three-point looks that most teams in this league get that have guys like that. So you look up and they're averaging less than 10 makes a game, dead last in the NBA, second to last in percentage. Like, you look at teams in this league that are low volume three-point shooting teams. Like, for instance, a team like Denver. They've been a low volume three-point shooting team for years, but they're one of the top percentage teams. So you can survive those nights when, teams are going to take 18, 20 more threes than you because you're shooting a good enough percentage to keep you at least within striking distance in the three-point battle. When you are shooting 30% from the three, okay, and you're also low volume, you're not surviving that. Now you're literally so outgunned and digging out of such a deficit in terms of firepower on just shooting alone. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. You can't make up that entire deficit. So for me, when I watch them, that's really what it is. You're not watching a team that they come up the floor and you're thinking they're capable of stringing together a 30, 35-point quarter because they've got three-point shooting, enough of it on the floor. It's like a relief when they score sometimes when you watch this team. And that's not going to change anytime soon. If you don't have Anthony Davis, you don't have Kyrie Irving. This is what they have. So short of some sort of massive trade taking place where you can figure out a way to get one of those guys in, this is what it's going to look like, man. Ugly offense, defense hopefully keep you in games, and then you got to try to execute down the stretch and steal one when you can.
And unfortunately, that's been a problem for this team. They haven't been good in clutch games so far this year. They're not getting enough three-point shooting. And part of that we hope we were going to get was from Klay Thompson, who has struggled out the gate so far this year, has now been coming off the bench in his last couple of games as well. What has gone wrong for Klay Thompson in this start for him this season in your mind?
Well, look, I look at a guy like Klay, and, you look up, he's 35 years old. He's got a lot of miles on those legs, man. It's a lot of jumps, right? A lot of up and downs, and he had major injuries. So, it's just the accumulation of that. At some point, it's going to be more difficult. You don't have the same lift. When you don't have the same lift, and he was never a guy that was like jumping, 35 inches off the ground on his jump shot. He doesn't jump a lot, but he jump more than he's comfortable jumping now. What happens is the timing of your release is different when you're not jumping the same on every jump. And I think that's where Klay probably finds himself now. It doesn't feel as automatic to him. So as a result, it's not automatic. And again, even the volume, though, he's only taking 8.5 shots a game. Like, for a high volume shooter, that's nothing. That's not stringing them together where you can find a rhythm. They've now decided, okay, let's bring him off the bench. Maybe that's the solution. But there's an adjustment to be made for Klay Thompson. So if you're an older guard, I got talked about the mileage on the legs, and now, okay, you go through pregame warmups. You do your routine. You got a nice sweat going. You come right out of layup lines into starting lineup introductions, and boom, you're on the court, and maybe you get a shot up in the first few minutes game, which you usually do. Now, okay, warm-ups end. In real time, that might be 15, 20 minutes to go sit down now. I don't know that necessarily that's going to be easier for Klay Thompson to find his rhythm, but they felt like it was struggling to such an extent they had to try something a little bit different for him. I'm just saying, I don't know that that's going to be the solution. I understand if you want to play him fewer minutes, but I think to go sit down after you've warmed up when you're a guard north of 35 years old, or a big man either, it's harder than to start out like getting into a rhythm when you step onto the floor. And it feels more immediate. Like, I got to get it going now because my minutes are shrunk anyway. When you start the game, you can at least, there's a little bit of a flow to it for all the starters. I think this might be a difficult adjustment for Klay, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope it works out for him because, maybe that is the role, 20, 24 minutes a night at most. I just think it's going to be hard finding that rhythm.
And the starting lineup changes that we've seen with Klay Thompson going to the bench, Max Christie being inserted to the starting lineup. We started this season, Tim, with the whole point flag experiment. Cooper Flagg, the rookie out of Duke, in his first few weeks, I should say, mostly playing at the point guard, starting at the point guard position. What have been your evaluations of Cooper Flagg through his first couple of weeks of the season, and what did you think about the idea of starting him on the ball as the primary facilitator and the guy initiating the offense, and what that started to turn out offensively for this team?
Yeah, I didn't like it initially because I just felt like as a high-profile player, as the youngest player in the NBA at 18 years old, you got enough mentally that you're kind of dealing with. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of scrutiny. He's got a lot of confidence in himself. So, I'm sure, I have no doubt that Cooper Flagg is going to be a really high-level player in this league. I think he's a can't-miss prospect. I do believe that. But I think initially everything is happening so fast and there's so much pressure and so many eyeballs on you. When you also then take a guy and play him kind of out of his normal comfort zone as a player, and let's add this to your level of responsibility. Can you also bring the ball up the floor and advance it against really good on-ball defenders? Can you make the game easier for other people on the team? Because that's part of the responsibility as the primary ball handler. Can you create and manipulate defenses in a way that makes the game easier for other guys? It's just a whole nother level of responsibility for a young guy just trying to get his feet wet and just go have some success early and get a taste of what NBA travel is like and the grind of an NBA season. And 82 of these things are going to come at you, not 35. And I think that adding that to his plate, I wouldn't have done it, but they saw something in him and thought this was the best way to operate. I just think he's probably overthinking the game. That to me is probably what's going through Cooper Flagg's head right now, rather than, man, just go play basketball. Run the wing, be a forward that can handle the ball rather than our primary playmaker. I think those are two entirely different things. And I think as a result, it's a little bit of paralysis by analysis with him. There's too much going on up here that's affecting some of his muscle memory, and he's having some struggles with his efficiency. And his shooting is going to be an issue. I said it all along. Everybody knows that. I said it from the very beginning. Saw him last summer in Vegas, had a great look at that thing. And I said, his mechanics are not going to lend itself to a lot of success from deep early. It's just not. He's 27% from the three-point line. Not shocked by that at all. It'll improve over the course of the first few years of his career. But right now, that shot making from the perimeter is going to be a little bit of a slog for him. So we're going to judge him on that. It's going to be difficult, I think, for him to be efficient right now without more help offensively.
Flagg saying after a recent loss that this is the most he's lost ever when it comes to the way that the team has performed so far this year. So overcoming not only what's happening on the floor, but psychologically dealing with what has been a bad situation to start off with, which gets me to this. The GM of this team is embattled right now, of course, to Nico Harrison, and obviously the heat has been turned up quite a bit due to this difficult start that the Mavericks are on. From the outside looking in, What advice would you give to how this thing could be handled moving forward, given what's on this roster and trying to depend on the health or lack thereof of Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and others to try to get this thing moving in the right direction here?
And look, I don't have an answer to it because it really does revolve around your best players being available. I mean, that's what the whole thing was predicated on, making the move in the first place. They expected to have a healthy Anthony Davis. And look, a lot of us that have covered Anthony Davis his whole career know that that's, a dicey prospect throughout his career. And he had been better about it toward the end of his time in LA, playing through some stuff and being more available. And you could see the talent is there. So that, to me, is really what all of this is predicated upon. You didn't expect Kyrie Irving to get hurt this significantly at the end of the year. You didn't expect Anthony Davis to go down again here at the beginning of the year. You're talking about two guys that are big needle movers offensively for your team. In a lot of ways, it almost has to work with them because this is the path you've chosen. And I said this at the time of the trade. Ultimately, I personally don't think you can even judge this by what Dallas does going forward. I said it, if they win a championship even, Dallas, I still don't think that validates the trade. Because for me, I could say, well, yeah, but maybe they would have won it with Luka too. So you'll never know that. But in the meantime, you just gave away a guy that's one of the best players in this league at 25 years old. And he's going to go have probably a decade of success in Los Angeles. That to me that's why I couldn't justify that. This whole thing is going to be judged by what Luka does in LA. This entire trade. But in the meantime, the only way you can at least turn the heat down on the conversation is to have your best guys be available. And obviously, we don't know when we're going to see Kyrie. Anthony Davis, you hope you get back sooner than later, and you can start to have that big-time offensive talent you need at the top of a roster, and then the defense can help you win games. Right now, that defense isn't going to be good enough to win games because their offense is not going to be able to carry their share of the burden.
Things are getting turned up in the wrong way here in Dallas. The Mavericks got to find a way to figure it out. We appreciate our guy Tim Legler try to provide some answers for us here at DLS Mavs. Tim, as always, we appreciate the time. Look forward to your coverage all season long with ESPN, of course, on the All NBA podcast. What you got, Adam Montes? Appreciate the time as always, Tim. Thank you.
You got it, of course. Talk to you soon.